So I wanted to do an update video on my FPV250, which as you can see is going pretty well. These are the props that I've broken. Some of them are the ones I did quite early on, which now I would probably fly, I'd just carry on flying like that one. Some of them are pretty bad. Anyway, either way, I consider that to be just to show you that you do need to practice. So that's that. This is the FPV250 as it stands. It's pretty much exactly as I built it originally. A couple of slight tweaks I've made. The camera protection idea works really well. I originally had like a plastic credit card, and that worked brilliantly for probably 20 or 30 crashes, and eventually it pushed through on these two front posts. So I was going to cut another piece of card, but then I was looking around my bits and bobs, and I've got an extra couple of frames, and this lower frame plate for the cage actually is perfect to fit on top for the mobius protection. I mean, it's really strong. It's slightly heavier, but I don't think it's an issue. In order to get to the buttons, I've just dremeled slightly away so that I can get to the power button and the camera button easily. You could do it with a pin or something. I also looked at mounting this the other way round, so the curve was at the front, but it was slightly more awkward for the buttons because this is actually a narrower hole aperture. Apart from that, the only other issues I've had are as I said, I think originally, I soldered these little thin motor wires straight onto the speed controllers, which was a mistake because that connection is quite brittle. Twice now, one wire has come off and I've just resoldered them. I'm too lazy, but what I should do is originally I should not have unsoldered the original speed controller wires. I should have just cut them maybe an inch and then soldered the motor wires onto them and heat shrink them, and I think that will be flexible and it will be much more robust. So I'd recommend anyone do that. The other thing is the legs do come off a fair bit. I've got them tethered on cable ties, which is pretty much essential, but I think if I was doing it again, I'd be looking to try and not run legs and just have a flat bottom. I think it would be sleeker and more robust. The only other thing is the receiver. I originally had at the back here under the video transmitter, and for normal flying it wasn't an issue. I flew to probably 150 feet, no problem. But if you go further than that, I've had a couple of cases where I lost radio signal. So I've moved it temporarily. I've moved it onto the top deck, and this now has no problem with range. My long-term solution is I'm planning to swap over to another frame, and I've got the orange R800X receiver, which has got these flying aerials. So what I plan to do on the next one is I will mount the receiver inside the cage here, probably above the video transmitter, and I can then run the aerial wires out and along the legs, so they're probably underneath the legs, so they're sticking out. So I'll have one on each side. That one will go that side, that one will go that side, and they'll be nice and far apart, so I should have no issues with signal, and it'll look sleeker. The other thing I've nearly lost it a couple of times, where I've crashed it in undergrowth. It's been quite awkward to find. So what I've added is the Loc8tor tag. I've had this for a while for other planes and things. They really are clever. This is the little control unit. When you lose the model, you fire this up and you select which tag you want to locate. Now this is that one. As soon as you start locating, the tag itself will blip, and there's a little flashing LED. So if you're near it, you'll hear that, and you can track it that way. For further away, you can. This is the receiver unit, and this will beep as you point towards it. It beeps faster, and this has a range of about 200 feet. So if you lost it in a field full of corn, which is the worst case scenario, if you walk up and down the field swinging, you will get beeps from here that'll tell you which direction to walk in, and then you can just walk straight to it. It's absolutely brilliant. We've tested this when I first got it. I took the little silver tag and I just threw it overarm into a field, and then I used this to just walk straight back to it. So it works brilliantly. So it's definitely worth thinking about if you're going to fly in undergrowth and around trees like I do. It can be quite awkward to find it, especially because when you crash, you're flying through the goggles, so actually getting your precise bearings on where you were is awkward. You can buy a DVR and record your FPV video and then play it back, and that, I think this is cheaper than doing that, because this system, there's two versions. There's a light version with just a little credit card, which also works perfectly. This version has this screen, which is not really necessary. So the Loc8tor Lite, it's called, is Loc8tor, Loc8tor. They're all over eBay. They're easy to get hold of. So that's that. And the last thing was the battery. Oh yeah, the next frame, I'm going to put the battery on top in the middle there, mainly just so I can not run legs. But I wonder if it will also make it a little bit more responsive, because the centre of gravity will be a little bit higher. So that's the idea. I'm still really happy with the Mobius. I'm still really happy with the 600 TVL Fat Shark camera. So I still think that's a really good combination. The Mobius for vibration, I've just got this on a couple of layers of Velcro, and I've got one of these wrap straps, which I really like, and I'll use these for speed controllers next time. They're supposedly like a reusable zip tie, but they're very stretchy. They're sort of halfway between a cable tie and a rubber band, quite a hefty rubber band. But the idea is that you just you loop these through and pull them back like a zip tie, but you can reuse them because you can undo them. So I've got that on the Mobius, and I'm going to use that on the speed controllers. I've also got mounting plates. So I've got these excellent mounting 3D printed motor mounting plates. The only issue really with these RCX motors is the mounting bolts are 12mm spacing, which is too small for the frame. So on this frame I dremeled them down, which was very fiddly, and then used washers to spread because I was worried it would break through. On the next one, I'm going to you bolt the motors onto these little plastic pieces, and then they have a moulded raised part that fits perfectly into the frame motor slots, and then you cable tie at the edges to hold that on. So it's a very neat solution. Also it means that in a crash the motor can break off, so it's going to reduce the chance of breaking or bending the motor shaft, so I think that's a really good idea. The other thing is it raises up the motors by about 4 or 5mm. One of the issues with these RCX motors, because they're quite low profile, which is good, it means there really isn't quite space for a speed controller above the arm, which is why I put it below. With these mounting plates, that'll push the motor up 5mm, and there should be easily enough space to put the speed controller on top of the arm, and that'll be much sleeker. I'm still going to stick with the same setup elsewhere, so I think that'll work really well. What else have I got? Oh, the other thing is the props. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sets of orange props. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2 sets of black props. I seem to have run out of black props somehow. And then I've got some of the carbon filled ones, which are not used because apparently they're a bit too strong and they risk breaking the motor. So I bought them to test, but I've never used them. But the GemFan props now you can get from Hobbyking. So I've ordered 10 or 5 full sets. I think they're identical, but it just to keep me going really, because I seem to go through props in fits and starts. I've had a whole day where I've flown without breaking any props, and then another time I've literally broken a prop or two on every flight. So it's just I guess it's how rough I'm flying and where I am and what sort of flight it is. So that's that.